Zimbabwe, South Africa. One of the few reported close encounters of the third kind happened around 10 a.m. on September 16, 1994. It occurred at the Aerial School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, South Africa. 2 days prior to the incident, numerous UFO sightings were reported by the locals, mostly farmers living in the area. It was believed the aliens were scouting, looking for intelligent life, perhaps somebody who might believe and understand their message. Previous encounters were mostly hostile, such as being chased by jets trying to shoot them down. This may be why they chose the area school. They landed during recess while the students were out playing. The faculty and staff members were in a meeting. What a big surprise these students got, a visit from some friendly aliens. They landed their alien disc-shaped craft right near the schoolyard. The aliens, dressed in skin-tight black uniforms, stepped out of their craft to give the frightened students a message. Some students were too frightened and ran away. The students were scared but very curious. The students were about the same size as their alien friends, about 4 feet tall, except with much larger heads and eyes shaped like almonds. They told the students, telepathically, they have a message. The basic message was that we humans are ruining our planet. There were about 62 students. The students received their message in pictures projected in their minds. First, they're showing them a picture of multiple smokestacks with dirty, black, polluted smoke bellowing out of the sky above, which was air pollution. Then a picture of a destroyed city after a nuclear bomb that had been dropped. Now we are also careless about our use of nuclear power. Next, a picture of teens just lying around, not doing anything, but wearing headgear, looking at some type of video or playing some type of video game. The final picture they were shown was of a river full of trash looking dirty. The students were told, we need to take care of our planet. The skeptics were quickly trying to explain this away. It was a hoax subject to mass hysteria. Even much more of a ridiculous story was that the aliens the students had seen were part of a puppet show traveling in the area. On September 19th, the students were interviewed by Tim Leach, a BBC correspondent in Zimbabwe. The students drew pictures of the disc-shaped craft and told their version of what happened that day. Leach had interviewed the students individually, but when comparing the pictures and stories, they matched, with some minor details. Leach, an experienced reporter, believed they all were telling the truth. The day after Leach spoke to students, Cynthia Hine from the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation Radio, a state-owned station, interviewed the students. She found the same as Leach. The stories and pictures all matched, and she was also convinced that they were telling the truth. The students 2 months later were still very confused. They were not believed by their parents and other adults. Some were not sleeping and having terrifying nightmares. So the school brought in Dr. John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist, and he was head of the Harvard's prestigious psychiatry department, who was a renowned and well-respected psychiatrist. Dr. Mack interviewed all the students individually. He came to the same conclusion as Leach and Hine, that the students and pictures all matched and that they were telling the truth. Now fast forward 20 years. They were interviewed again by James Fox, a UFO researcher who has documented some of the most famous UFO cases. He has interviewed hundreds of witnesses. He found the students very credible. Now adults, they shared their experiences from the incident. And once again, the pictures and stories all match, confirming again they were telling the truth. Most of the students were still very traumatized and upset that the adults were still not believing their stories. This caused them to be a bit angry and bitter. That despite overwhelming evidence 20 years later, many skeptics were still not convinced. To add to the validity of the story, it was discovered that a teacher who was supervising the recess, Judy Bates, had her own encounter with the aliens. At the time of the incident, she was the only one on the playground, only adult, but was afraid at the time of being ridiculed in telling her story. 3 days after the aliens landed, the aliens returned. She was living on the school grounds when late at night, 2 aliens showed up in her bedroom. They beamed her up to the ship. She was terrified. Since the students were brave enough to tell their story, she was finally able to tell what happened that day. In June 2021, according to Za, now a writer for Barstool Sports, he was a witness that day. He was just 5 years old, and they had interviewed mostly older students. Za wrote an article confirming the events of that day. In an episode of BBC's Witness History, the events in September 1994 they described as one of the most significant events in UFO history. This was seen as credible proof that these friendly, short aliens were on a visit from outer space. The aliens seem to have a great interest in our schools. Sightings have been reported at over 100 schools in the United States in 1966. There are 2 other stories in this book of aliens landing at schools. Broadhaven in Wales in 1977 and at Westall High School in Melbourne, Australia in 1966. Maybe the aliens believe the students will help save our planet from destruction, just in case one day they need to move to a new planet. Let's hope they're willing to share. This has been Ken Sylvester. I just read you one of the top 40 UFO stories, all true and well documented in my book. I'm donating 65% of the profits to cancer research in honor of my daughter Amber, who passed away from breast cancer. Don't decide now. Explore the details of the best-selling book on Amazon. To read the details, go to Amazon, search by typing in "We're Not Alone, Ken Sylvester." Consider buying my book while still being offered at a discounted rate of only $7.95. Learn the truth about aliens and help fight cancer. Thank you. Over and out.